I know. Rouhani doesn't sound like Ahmadinejad. But when it comes to Iran's nuclear weapons program, the only difference between them is this. Ahmadinejad was a wolf in wolf's clothing. Rouhani is a wolf in sheep's clothing. A wolf who thinks he can pull the wool over the eyes of the international community.
That was Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the UN this week, warning about Iran's nuclear program. And here to tell us about it is Ambassador John Bolton, joining us from Washington. Ambassador, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
We're seeing what people have described as a diplomatic charm offensive from Iran and Mr. Rouhani, the new leader there. I might have missed the charming part, but what is it exactly that Iran has done lately to warrant a new willingness on the part of the Obama administration to negotiate with them?
Well, absolutely nothing, and that's what's so depressing about the success of this charm offensive. You know, the debate for the past 10 years in Iran between moderates on the one hand and hardliners on the other has not been about whether they're going to get nuclear weapons. They're all agreed on that. The debate has been a PR debate. The hardliners like to publicly call about sweeping Israel into the sea like Ahmadinejad. They like having their pictures taken walking through the centrifuges at Natanz. The moderates, on the other hand, don't want to talk about any of these things. They want to lull the West into a feeling of complacency, but continue to do exactly the same things on the nuclear weapons program. I have to say, the moderates have a much more sensible PR sense than the hardliners do, and that's what Rouhani is doing. Reprising something that he did 10 years ago to lull the Europeans into complacency about the efforts that they were undertaking then. It's the same playbook. It was successful for Iran then. I very much fear it will be successful for them here as well.
Okay, and we're seeing the same drive to develop nuclear weapons. We're seeing the same support for terrorism that we saw under previous rulers there?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, there's been no change whatever in the level of support, financial and otherwise, for the Assad regime in Syria, for the aid being given to Hezbollah, both in Lebanon and to fight in Syria, and financial support for terrorists around the world. The rhetoric is only marginally different. It's enough to gull gullible Westerners. But the fact is that Hassan Rouhani is not the head of the state and government of Iran. That's still the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, who controls specifically the nuclear weapons program. So Rouhani is at best the number 2 official in Iran, sort of their Joe Biden.
Now, we've seen, correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but I think the United States and worldwide sanctions have been fairly effective. Cutting off Iranian access to the international banking system has not been kind to their economy, to their currency. Assuming you agree with that, are you worried that those sanctions are now going to be tossed aside here as the Obama administration, without getting really anything substantive from Iran, seeks to show how reasonable we are?
No, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I wouldn't overstate the effect of the sanctions. I think on top of 30 years of economic mismanagement by the Islamic Revolution, yes, indeed, they have had an effect. And they've had a particularly pronounced effect on the Iranian middle class, which, by the way, is the aspect of Iranian society most opposed to the Ayatollahs. So with unerring accuracy, our sanctions have hurt the people who are most sympathetic to our point of view. But don't think the Iranians haven't been expert at evading the sanctions. You know, the biggest Iranian diplomatic facility in the world is their embassy in Caracas, Venezuela. Why? Because it's a good place to launder money.
Okay. Thanks, Ambassador.
Thank you.
We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, talk about this assistance to Detroit from the federal government. But don't call it a bailout. Please stay with us.